and welcome to another edition of Tokyo 2020, the Spirit of Sports. Over the next half hour, we'll be telling you about all the latest developments in the Tokyo Games as our athletes find their momentum. A lot of hits and a few misses as well. But we'll be talking in detail also with our guests who will be joining us for more. But first, let's take a look at the top stories. Well, sports requires precision, good timing, anticipation and the ability to stay calm under pressure. When athletes are not able to manage those thoughts and emotions, they will basically wreck their performance. More and more sports persons are coming forward with issues of mental health, and the intense competition and heightened expectations back home take a toll on them. Simone Biles made a point for everyone to sit up and take a look. Now, English star cricketer and star of their World Cup triumph, Ben Stokes, has decided to take a break for the same reason. First, it was Naomi Osaka, then Simone Biles, and now Ben Stokes. The world has seen sports persons coming out raising their mental health concerns with the authorities in the past few days. Admired for their physical fitness, these sports persons are now stressing upon the often neglected importance of mental fitness for their well-being. It all started when Japanese tennis player Naomi Osaka withdrew from the French Open citing mental health concerns. But the discussion around the topic has gained further momentum with the most recent case of English cricketer Ben Stokes taking a break from the game. England's cricket board on Friday announced that the 30-year-old player was taking an indefinite break from all cricket with immediate effect to prioritize his mental well-being and continue his recovery from an injury to his left index finger. While expectations from sports persons are high, the pressure for these players to keep up with their game is higher. This was evident at the ongoing Tokyo Olympics, where American gymnast Simone Biles withdrew from the vault and uneven bar apparatus finals at the Tokyo Games on Saturday, as the US gymnast continued to wrestle with mental health issues. Superstar Biles sent shockwaves to the Olympic world on Tuesday when she pulled out of the gymnastics team event after one vault.
You know that on the one hand, she admits to have this problem. This is already courageous. Who 1 year ago would have admitted to say I have mental health problems, and at the same time then cheering on her teammates, and then being there and supporting when her successor is crowned in the all-around final. This is great human quality, and this is Olympic spirit at its best.
Simone Biles' withdrawal from the Games have also encouraged other players to come forward and talk about the troubles that athletes often go through. The United States team, including Katie Zaferes, Taylor Knibb, Morgan Pearson and Kevin McDowell, talked about their mental health after bagging a silver in the first ever Olympic triathlon mixed relay at the Tokyo Olympics.
I think it's important to remember at the end of the day we're just playing a sport or doing a sport, and our lives are more valuable than just the medals that we have. I think it's easy to get caught up with that, but there's more important things.
It all started when Naomi Osaka withdrew from the French Open and jeopardized her career after the authorities threatened her of a $15,000 fine and expulsion for not honoring mandatory media commitments. The Japanese tennis pro had taken a stand against the after-games press conferences, saying that they take a toll on her mental health. While the world continues to battle COVID-19, there is a parallel epidemic of mental illness going on which calls for immediate intervention by those who can make a difference. The mental health issues concern all. Sportspersons are serving as a catalyst to the cause by knocking the right door. Bureau Report, DD India. And we are now joined by Ravikant Singh, senior journalist and sports analyst, to discuss mental health issues and sports. Well, Mr. Singh, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Well, a number of cases now. The last, Simone Biles of the United States, and she's being praised and supported by her colleagues, by her compatriots, and also by seniors in the game for being able to speak out about it. Your reactions?
Well, I think Simone Biles has done a very courageous thing. It's not that mental health issues have popped up suddenly; they were always there. It's just that the pandemic has caused a kind of isolation. So when you start living what we very creatively called a bio bubble, when you are living isolated, obviously your thoughts turn inwards, and when not everybody is able to handle it in the same way. Now, sports being more visible has fortunately taken the courage, and sports persons have stepped forward to express their reservations about this, and the world has now come to accept it. Going back to May, when Osaka was ridiculed, now Biles is welcomed. So that shows that the people have begun to understand, and I think the society at large has to understand that sports persons may be stronger or more talented, but they are human after all.
Right. Can we say Naomi Osaka, when she said that she would not be attending the press conferences after the French Open, and the way the French Open authorities, they tried to actually bulldoze her into, going against her decision. Can we say that it was her voice against the commercialization of sports?
Not merely commercialization of sports, but also the fact that people who are sitting in those high chairs, they feel that they can do whatever they feel like with the sports persons. But Osaka took a stand, a courageous stand, and faced with a threat of a fine, suspension, whatever, she took a stand. And that is what to me is a one very big step, because when you are standing up to the world, you're standing up to the authorities, you have to be that extra courageous to be visibly seen as an example. Otherwise, the authorities will try and bulldoze their way through. And if Osaka had crumbled, nobody else would have dared to do that.
Right. Naomi Osaka, as well, when we talk about Simone Biles, they are mostly in individual sports. But Ben Stokes, how do you look at his situation? What would you say are the pressures that forced him to come out in this way?
Well, see, Ben Stokes is again an extremely talented person. Now, when we talk about an extremely talented person, obviously their physical and mental abilities are very different from the average person. So even if it's a team sport, Ben Stokes needs to be, living a certain kind of life which would suit his physical and mental needs. Now, if he cannot do that, obviously he is not able to perform. And if he is not able to perform, things only get worse. So it doesn't matter whether it's an individual sport or a team sport. It's about how the individual can handle what is being handed out. And here, in this case of Ben Stokes, he has been a part of the team, a very key member of the English side. But if he's not able to live the way he would like to, how do you expect him to perform the way others would like him to? So instead of falling in the eyes of the others, he has taken the right decision that he will step back and take a break.
Yes, and that's what the entire sports fraternity has said, although there may be some who would maybe not agree with his decision. These sports stars are setting a precedent. But sir, Mr. Singh, when we talk about sports by itself, it's a very competitive field. Would you say that the pressures have changed somewhat, so that we find that sports persons are being unable to cope? What's the change that has happened?
See, sports was always a pressure cooker situation. more so because their performances can be measured. So when you have a yardstick laid down, when your performances are tested day in day out, you have to perform at a certain level to maintain your standards that are expected of you. That requires top level physical fitness, mental fitness as well. But sportspersons coming out and saying so. Now let's not forget, when we talk about tennis players, they are traveling day in, day out, almost living out of a suitcase. We are playing on the WTA tour or the ATP tour. You see them playing tournaments week after week and hardly return home. So when we talk about, why do we talk about early burnouts? Same reason, some people are able to handle it better than the others. But here, the pandemic has created such a unique situation where even if you travel, you're not able to be with people. You've got to remain in the bio bubble, stay isolated, and that makes things only worse. And because of the higher visibility, we've had this a whole wide range of suspension of events. So any sporting activity that comes, people are trying to lap it up. So the visibility has become even greater. So the pressure has only increased on the performers, and you got to feel for them.
Yes. Well, Mr. Singh, do stay with us. We'll be coming back to you once again for further discussions on other issues. Meanwhile, moving on in the Olympics, as far as India's performance is concerned today, in discus throw, Kamalpreet Kaur qualified for the finals with the best score of 64 meters, while Seema Punia was knocked out. Kamalpreet Kaur finished second in the overall heats of the women's discus throw at the Tokyo Games. More in this report.
India's Kamalpreet Kaur qualified for the final of the women's discus throw at the Tokyo Olympics on Saturday. Seema Punia, India's other entry in the event, failed to make the cut however. Competing in Group B, Kamalpreet managed a throw of 60.29 meters on her first attempt. She improved on her second attempt, throwing 63.97 meters. On her third and final attempt, Kamalpreet threw exactly 64 meters, the mark required for automatic qualification to the final on August 2. In case athletes don't make that mark, the 12 best performers make the final. Only one other athlete made the automatic qualifying mark. USA's Valerie Allman threw 66.42 meters to make the final on her first attempt. Seema Punia, on the other hand, began her attempts in Group B with a foul throw. On her second attempt, she threw 60.57 meters, while her third attempt yielded a throw of 58.93 meters. Kamalpreet came into Tokyo on the back of some good form. She is the first Indian to have thrown over 65 meters and hold the national record with a throw of 66.59 meters at the Indian Grand Prix 4 at NIS Patiala in June 2021. Her earlier best and previous national record was 64.06 meters set in March 2021. Kamalpreet has a chance to become first Indian athlete to win track and field medal at Olympics. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, the 9th day of Tokyo 2020 has so far been headlined by discus thrower Kamalpreet Kaur, who has secured a place in the final. But archer Atanu Das and boxer Amit Panghal crashed out. More in this report.
It was a day of disappointment for India as many players were eliminated in their respective events. The biggest upset of the day, star shuttler PV Sindhu lost in straight games 18-21, 12-21 against Tai Tzu Ying in the women's singles semi-finals. Sindhu will face China's He Bing Zhao in the bronze medal match. Former Sports Minister Kiren Rijiju applauded the ace badminton player and said that India is proud of her achievement and everyone will cheer for her in the bronze medal match. Indian boxer Pooja Rani also lost her quarter-final bout in women's middleweight category to second seed and 2016 Rio Olympics bronze medalist Li Qian of China. Li never gave up the upper hand and ended winning 5-0 to go through to the semi-finals. Indian women hockey team kept their hope alive of progressing to the knockouts with a crunch 4-3 win over South Africa. Vandana Kataria scored a hat-trick and the final goal of the match to seal the win for India. South Africa came back from being 1 goal down 3 times, but in the fourth quarter, India scored its fourth and decisive goal. Indian boxer Amit Pangal bowed out of the Olympics with a stunning 1-4 loss to Rio Games silver medalist Guberjan Martinez in the pre-quarterfinals. The top-seeded Indian was making his debut in the games and had got an opening round bye. Pangal was put under pressure by the Colombian in the opening round and could never close the gap after that. India's challenge in archery has also ended. India's medal hopes suffered a big setback when ace archer Atanu Das bowed out of men's individual event after losing to Japan's Takaharu Furukawa in the quarterfinals. In shooting, Tejaswini Sawant and Anjum Modgil failed to make it to the finals of the 50-meter rifle, finishing 33rd and 14th respectively. After kneeling and prone leg of the event, Modgil was 10th position in overall rankings while Sawant was at 29th position. Sports Desk, DD India.
And going back once again to our guest, Mr. Ravikant Singh, senior journalist. Well, Mr. Singh, when we talk about India's performance, clearly the women seem to be outshining the men. Yesterday it was Lavlina Borgohain, today it's Kamalpreet Kaur.
Excellent performance by Kamalpreet Kaur because she's shown that she is up there, and making a direct qualification means a lot. You are challenging the field. The direct qualification line is meant to protect the better performers of having to go through the grind of qualification so that they can go through a direct qualifying mark. If they exceed that, you don't need to throw anymore. And I mean, the rules are very clear. If there are usually there are only 12 finalists, but even if there are more than 12 people clearing that qualifying mark, all are allowed to go into the final. But here, I mean, of course, only 2 cleared. But Kamalpreet Kaur's performance definitely raises medal hopes because she's not a qualifier. She was the qualifier among the 2 who went past the automatic qualifying mark.
Well, a slight disappointment as far as our archers are concerned. What do you think happened?
I think it was more of a case of stage fright. That's what I feel, whether it was Atanu Das or his wife Deepika Kumari or any of the other performers. The moment they went into the real big tests, they were almost like, caught in the spotlight, not very comfortable. They had their opportunities, unfortunately not able to catch them. Atanu Das had knocked out the defending champion and former world #1 Korean in the previous round. But here, his shooting was pretty ordinary, I would say.
Well, stage fright they've really won earlier games, very big sporting events. But, well, clearly the Olympics was something very different for them. That's
taking part in an archery competition, archery World Cup or whatever, is different from being part of a multi-event extravaganza, where you have superstars from just about every
corner of the world.
Yeah. So when you are rubbing shoulders with them, you carry your breakfast. I mean, of course, here things would be very different. But earlier Olympics, when you're rubbing shoulders with the best of them, carrying your breakfast tray just with Usain Bolt or Roger Federer, it's the life in the Olympic village is itself something of an experience for every athlete. And not everybody is able to take it in their stride. They do get distracted. And that's where I feel the Indians have been, especially the archers. I mean, this is not the first Olympics for them, but still they have been found wanting.
Right. Well, Mr. Ravikant, thank you very much for joining us there and for your inputs. You've helped us understand India's performance all that much better with everything that you've said. So many thanks to you. Moving on now, Jamaica's Elaine Thompson-Herah won her second consecutive Olympic gold in the women's 100 meters, finishing in 10.61 seconds in Tokyo. Thompson-Herah's time set an Olympic record, surpassing Florence Griffith Joyner's time of 10.62, set in 1988. Elaine was the defending gold medalist in this event and becomes the first woman to win 3 gold medals in this distance. And now time for some international Olympic updates.
American Caleb Dressel, the two-time world champion, touched 49.45 seconds to better his own world best 49.50 seconds set at the 2019 World Championships. Hungarian 200-meter fly champion Christoph Mellach was second in 49.68 seconds and Noé Ponty of Switzerland third in 50.74. He is only the 4th man ever to go under 50 seconds.
Medals?
Katie Ledecky won the women's 800-meter freestyle in her final event of the Olympic Games. Ledecky went 8 minutes 12.57 seconds, beat out the second-place finisher Ariarne Titmus by 1.26 seconds. She is the 4th swimmer in history to win back-to-back Olympic golds in a single event and now has 10 Olympic medals, including 7 gold to her name. Great Britain claimed a famous gold medal with a brilliant victory in the first ever Olympic Games mixed relay triathlon in Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Mete Gezoz of Turkey has won the men's individual archery title at Tokyo Games. It was the first gold medal won by a country other than South Korea, which went 4 for 5 in archery over these Olympics. Gezoz beat Mauro Nespoli of Italy in the final by a 6-4 score. Switzerland's Nina Christen won the gold in the women's rifle 3-position event with the Olympic record score just ahead of the Russian pair in the 50-meter rifle 3 positions to become Switzerland's first female shooter to win an Olympic gold. Simone Biles withdrew from the vault and uneven bar apparatus finals at the Tokyo Olympics on Saturday as the US gymnast continued to wrestle with mental health issues. Biles had earlier stunned the Tokyo Games when she dropped out of the team competition following a poor opening vault and then decided not to defend her all-round crown. Nigerian sprinter Blessing Okagbare has been barred from the Olympics after failing a drug test, the first doping case of the Tokyo Games track and field competition. The Athletics Integrity Unit said in a statement that Okagbare, who won her opening heat of the women's 100-meter on Friday, had tested positive for human growth hormone. Novak Djokovic is leaving the Olympics without a medal in the singles. The top-ranked Serb lost 6-4, 6-7, 6-3 to Pablo Carreno Busta of Spain in the bronze medal match of the tennis tournament. It was his 3rd defeat in 2 days. The loss comes less than 24 hours after Djokovic was beaten by Alexander Zverev of Germany in the semi-finals to end his bid for a Golden Slam. Sports Desk, DD India.
And that's it in this special show for today, Tokyo 2020, the spirit of sports. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.